In this video, I'll be doing an unboxing and give you my first impression of the KastKing Elite Micro Finesse System. That's right, Micro Finesse System, not Bait Finesse System, because this one here is actually a step up of the current KastKing Kestrel Elite Bait Finesse Reel. This one is sold in the US for $199.99. This guy here sold, I believe, in Asia for $249.99. This step up here is gonna have some improvements to this reel, which we'll talk about in this video. But KastKing have reached out to me because they want my honest review of this reel because they're working on a future reel and they want to incorporate my feedback into future reels. So with that said, this video here is gonna be primarily a first impression via the unboxing video. There will be a cast testing session, and of course there'll be a fishing session. So with that said, let's get this video started. Alright, so here's the two reels next to each other. Alright, as you see, it looks very, very similar, but what you notice is that the spool does not have any ports. They say that this spool here is supposed to be lighter than the Kestrel Elite, the original one. Okay, this one is supposed to be weighed at 4 grams, while this guy here is at around 5.6 grams. So we'll weigh it later, alright? But everything here looks really, really similar. Now, I did see a photo of a slower gear ratio reel, and this one right here, same as this one right here, is 8.4 to 1 gear ratio. There is a 7.5 to 1 gear ratio. But why don't we derail this review of this reel here for a second and talk about gear ratios. In my opinion, when it comes to small bait finesse reels such as these here, which they have size 28mm spools, by the way, gear ratio doesn't really tell us much, because even though most of these bait finesse reels are super duper fast, 8.4, right? How much line is actually reeling in? And then also, most reel companies provide you the inch per turn when the spool is at max capacity. For a lot of bait finesse users, especially with the size 28mm spools, for those who start throwing the very, very light stuff, they're not even maxing out the spool. So the IPT, it's inaccurate. So anyway, long story short, I think reel companies should tell us better on the IPTs, right? Perhaps to give an average for entire spool, right? I guess, I'm not an expert at this, so this is my guess, right? Give us an average of 3 different numbers when the spool is max, mid, and lowest as possible, right? And then that will give us a better idea. Heck, perhaps just give us all 3 of those numbers. We'll average it ourselves, right? But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, while they have 2 speeds of this reel here, 7.5 to 1 gear ratio and 8.4 to 1 gear ratio, I don't think the 7.5 to 1 gear ratio is actually needed, because again, the size of the spool right here is so small, size 28mm. I don't think we need a slower speed. Now, if KastKing want to go with some bigger bait finesse reels, because, you know, a lot of folks in the US, right, especially the bass fishing realm, they want to throw heavier lures in the first place. So it would be really, really cool to see some more offerings from KastKing, higher end, that have larger spools. For instance, the KastKing Zephyr Bait Finesse Reel, I love that reel. Not because I'm biased because I helped KastKing, you know, get that reel out to the market. It's because that larger diamond spool fits more of my fishery. That's not trout fishing, right? So that reel right there, although it doesn't throw that well below 2 grams, I throw a lot of stuff over 2 grams. Pairing that Zephyr on a light and medium light is amazing reel, okay? I use that right now, currently in saltwater fishing, and it's freaking fun. So yeah, if I could say something to KastKing about gear ratios, for the size 28mm spool, you don't need that many gear ratios. Stick with 1, the fastest. And then if you're going to play around with larger bait finesse reels, then you may want to consider having more gear ratios. Now, KastKing said that this reel here is lighter. So let's take a look. And by the way, this uses a Dora 90 pinion gear versus this guy here uses brass. So I guess there's some weight reduction, right? And you guys probably can't see that. That is 115 grams. And you guys probably want to see me change that to ounce. So there you go, it's 4.1 ounce. And then let me drop this guy here, the predecessor. Come on. Almost 4.5. So yeah, just a little bit lighter between the 2 reels. While we are weighing stuff, we might as well weigh the spool, okay? So as you see here, the spool does not have any ports. And I'm weighing with the bearing because Jimbo's lazy. 4.09, that is super light. Very, very impressive. But do note that just because you have a lighter spool doesn't mean it's gonna work really well. I have played with other reels where they have a larger spool than this, and the spool is super light, and the brakes were very, very light, and it was a nightmare casting light lures. It was blowing up left and right. So anyway, that's a very good improvement. A little bit over 1 gram, 1.25 gram. So I will expect that the new reel here will be casting a little bit lighter. What KastKing has advertised is that the new reel here with the lighter spool is casting down to 1/64 ounce, whereas the predecessor is casting only down to 1/32 ounce. So only a cast testing session could tell how low this new spool could go. Alright, so now that we have these reels apart, we might as well compare the braking mechanism. Now, for those who watched my previous videos on the KastKing Kestrel Elite, I said a lot of negative things about this reel. Okay, one of the biggest things is that the braking module is so overpowering. The reel is so overbraked that I'm casting pretty much at the most minimum brake setting. And the reason why it's doing this is because this thing right here, the braking module, the Fly Arc Finesse braking system, which is basically a inspiration of the Shimano FTB braking system, the braking mechanism at the lowest setting is already within the spool, so it's already applying brakes at the lowest setting, like a lot of brakes, okay? And if you look at these two right here, and I set them both to the lowest setting, look at that. The distance is the same thing, and therefore this guy right here, they didn't really change much of the braking mechanism, at least I don't think. I don't think they have changed out the magnets for weaker magnets, so potentially this reel could still be overbraked. Now, if you guys have not seen my other review of the KastKing Kestrel Bait Finesse reel, this is a newer, cheaper model of this reel released in the US. They did do something with the side plate. They changed it so that they backed out the braking system just a little bit. So for that reel right there, it casts a lot easier without need to bombing those casts. Like you're not overpowering all your casts, and you get some good distance. In fact, better distance than the Kestrel Elite. So yeah, I'm not sure why they didn't back this out like the Kestrel, but it would be really, really good to see if future iterations they'll fully test the braking system so that it's not overbraked. So one of the things I said about the drag clicker for the KastKing Kestrel Elite as well as the KastKing Kestrel, the drag clicking system is very dull. Listen to this. Doesn't sound that great. It sounds very plasticky, very, very low. And if you're actually fishing into, like, I guess, loud, noisy streams, you can't really hear it. You can barely feel it, right? If you're in a cold situation, I don't think you can actually feel this. Like, they need a more metallic drag clicker. And I said that, right? And they actually delivered that in this reel here. So the MFS, that is metallic. Sounds beautiful. Once again, the old one. And then the new one. Another complaint I made about this drag system is the actual star drag right here. Listen to this. Sounds very loud, and you could change settings, right, and be confident that you actually change it and it's actually staying in place. For the old one, as you hear, it's very dull, and sometimes you don't even hear it. Like for my old reels, my old Kestrel that is, you don't really hear it at all sometimes. It's really, really bad. So I don't know, after you take this out in water, you may not hear it. Like I already own 2 Kestrel Elites. This is the 3rd one. They sent me this one too because they want to, I guess, show a brand new one on the video, right? You hear this? It's very low, and sometimes when you spin it, it sounds like it may skip a few like clicks. And making this $200 reel feels like a cheap reel. So yeah, I didn't like that, and something I said in my previous videos. But it looks like this one right here, they addressed it, so it feels a lot better. Definitely feel like a more expensive reel. Okay, last thing I want to talk about is this side plate, specifically the latch and where it's located. So for this specific side plate, once the latch is open, right, in an open position, it just comes right off. This is a huge problem for me, and specifically for my kayak fishing rod holders. When I put my rod into my rod holder, oftentimes this latch right here hits the rod holder. And when that happens, because this plate, you don't need to twist it off anything, it just falls right off. Well, guess what? I dropped this side plate so many times onto my kayak. A couple times it went into the water. It's not good, especially for a reel this expensive. I talked to a few folks, they dropped it. They accidentally hit it too while fishing. I don't know how that happened, right? Dropped it in the water. Can't find it. It's gone. So yeah, I would suggest to KastKing to relocate this. I would love to see another beetle wing from KastKing, but I understand that this is a very, very small reel. If you add that, this reel will become a little bit more bulkier, and also it's going to become a little heavier. So yeah, I don't expect this to have the beetle spin. I just want this thing to be placed somewhere else, or perhaps, you know, you need to twist it so that it comes out. You guys figure it out. Just don't have it down here because it's bad. So there you have it. My first unboxing impression of the new KastKing MFS Micro Finesse System. As you guys have seen, definitely say that this is a step up from its predecessor, the KastKing Kestrel Elite BFS reel. So what's next on the menu? I'll be doing a cast testing session as well as a fishing session so that I could give my full feedback to KastKing, and then they could take my feedback, and if they decide to use any of my feedback for their future reels, that'll be awesome. So if you guys can't wait for those videos, smash that thumbs up button, and for those who are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification, because you know why? I'll tell you why. Fish don't wait.